Hi, it's me, Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut. Oh, it's been a year. It's been exactly 1 year since Falcon Heavy took off. I don't know about you guys, but I've heard from so many people that Falcon Heavy was maybe the first launch that they actually watched or paid attention to. It definitely was, at least in my lifetime, by far the biggest spaceflight event. I mean, it made public headlines. It was the second most watched YouTube video live ever. I think the number one, I think is still live. Remember, actual tuned in live. I think the number one might be Felix Baumgartner's fall from the upper atmosphere, which is funny. But anyway, we're going to rewatch Falcon Heavy and try to line it up exactly with the actual T-0, and we're gonna just see how we do here. So we're gonna do a few things here. Number one, we're going to start this off just like if this were an actual launch live stream. We're going to go on to everydayastronaut.com/pre-launch previews. And if we scroll down to previous missions, you'll see we actually have, look at what we have here, Falcon Heavy demo flight. And we actually made John made a post-launch review. So it's after the thing. We ran it down. So let's do a review of this. February 6, 2018. It ended up being really at 3:45 local time is when it actually took off. So yeah, that was awesome. This was the Falcon Heavy demo mission. This is the first time Falcon Heavy had ever flown, and it was a big stinking deal, as you guys probably know. The launch provider was SpaceX. The customer who paid for it was SpaceX. This was privately developed, privately funded. Of course, they had some funding from the Air Force and et cetera, et cetera. But the actual development of the vehicle and this entire demonstration mission was all paid for by SpaceX. The rocket is Falcon Heavy, of course. The launch location, historic Launch Complex 39A at Kennedy Space Center. Of course, this is a big deal because this is where people first left Earth to go and walk on another celestial body. Of course, is where all the Apollo missions took off from, at least with the Saturn V, and it's also where not all of, but a good majority of the space shuttle missions took off from there too. And the payload was, of course, Elon Musk's midnight cherry red Tesla Roadster. And this went out. Now, this is one of those things that kind of confused people. I thought it was going to Mars, etc. This was not intended to intercept with Mars, land on Mars, nothing like that. This entire mission was simply there literally as a demonstration and to get something out, basically see how far they can, see how much power this rocket has, let the reins go or whatever you would say, smack the thing make it fly far. I don't know, whatever you say when you're testing something to the limits. That's what they were doing. So they took this Roadster, they got it out onto what's that called? A gravitational ejection into a sun-synchronous orbit, not translunar, transmartian, but it wasn't any of that stuff. I don't know. They basically just had it break free of Earth's gravitational bonds and got it out into a sun-synchronous orbit, which means it's orbiting the sun. Its highest point is beyond Mars, actually, which is cool, and its lowest point is right here at Earth. So a oh man. Anyway, let's keep going. Did they attempt to recover the first stage boosters? Yes, and spoiler alert, some of them did pretty good. Where did the first stage boosters land? 1 and 2. Did they attempt to recover the core stage? Yes. Where did the core stage land? Spoiler alert, it failed to land successfully on the autonomous spaceport drone ship. Of course, I still love you. And this was the first flight of Falcon Heavy, third mission for SpaceX in 2018. So, and again, even Jeff Barrett made our graphic here for this, which I think is awesome. People are telling me to turn up. I'll turn up a little bit. Let me make sure I'm not about to clip on you guys, though. Yeah, so of course we have this awesome graphic by Jeff Barrett, which shows even the landing zones and the drone ship where it's going to land, which I think is awesome. Super, super, super cool. All right, so what's all this mean? This is the rundown. If you guys want to look at it later, you can. But don't forget, also, today I actually released an entire album, 3 songs, based entirely on Falcon Heavy's sequence of events. So I wrote a song, I took the live stream, and I wrote a song to every little event. So like all the crescendos, all the timing all lines up on like engine ignition, liftoff, max Q, booster deployment, fairing separation, even the like entry burns are timed up, and of course the iconic twin booster landing. If you haven't checked that out, we're going to actually kind of have it underneath the official live stream for a few reasons. Number one is to avoid a copyright strike because of the David Bowie song, and number two is just because you can watch the normal one anytime. You can go to YouTube. It's type in Falcon Heavy test flight, you'll see it. You can watch that normal one anytime. I figure we'll kind of spice it up just a little bit. We'll have that layer of ambience below with some subtle music, and it will kind of make our big old thing. So before we get started we are going to try to line this up so that T-0 lines up with the actual T0 in real life. So I've got a timer going here that's going to go off. Ooh, I got to start soon. But we have a lot of stuff planned for afterwards. I'm going to show you guys behind the scenes photos of where I was the day, kind of going through reliving my day there, which was awesome after we rewatch it. I'm also going to, let's see here. We're going to talk about where is Starman using whereisroadster.com. We're going to talk about that. We're going to do a bunch of stuff here. Let's see, 22. I think I got to go right now. All right. Is this timed right? 20 minutes? Actually, I have one. We're waiting. We're going to do this right, guys. I'm just so excited. So we have one more minute to figure out exactly where is Roadster. This is a really cool website where they show exactly where Roadster is. And notice it's pretty far out here. It's beyond Mars's orbit. And it's in orbit again around the sun. It's currently, I'm going to use the kilometers, of course, 364 million kilometers away, moving at an Earth relative speed of 8,298 kilometers an hour, which is moving away from Earth, not an Earth relative speed. Sorry, moving away from Earth still at that speed. The car is 263 million miles from Mars, moving away from Mars as well. This is just really cool. It's definitely worth going through here. They did a lot of really hard work. Okay, now we got to start it. Here we go. Oh, yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, so we're going to watch this. We're going to watch this as if this were a proper live stream. So yes, again, 27 Merlins will be playing when we watch the actual thing. You'll see I did a decent amount of work to make sure this was actually a production here for you guys. So again, we're going to treat this as if it were basically a launch. I'm going to duck out and be kind of quiet, and then we're going to play some things afterwards. I'm going to talk about a lot of other things like what's next for Falcon Heavy, when we're going to see it launch again, a few little updates, a few little news things, but let's tune in here and watch it as if it were live.
You are looking at a live view of the Falcon Heavy. Yes, the Falcon Heavy on historic pad 39A at Kennedy Space Center, awaiting liftoff at 3:45 p.m. local time. Welcome to our live launch webcast. My name is Lauren Lyons. I'm an engineer in our flight reliability department here at SpaceX, and I am so excited to be here with you today, along with my co-hosts, bringing you coverage of the first ever test flight of Falcon Heavy. At liftoff, Falcon Heavy is going to be the world's most powerful operational rocket by a factor of 2. And today is the day that we attempt to demonstrate that power. And because it is a test flight, there is no satellite customer on board the vehicle today, but the fairing is not empty. We do have some very interesting payloads going up on this flight that we'll talk about later on in the webcast. We'll also walk you through the mission profile because this ain't your typical Falcon launch. We've got 28 engines, 3 boosters, 3 separation events, 3 landing attempts, and there's going to be a lot of activity happening all at once. So this test flight is bound to be exciting one way or another. All right, we've got a ton to walk you through today, so let's get going.
Hi, I'm Michael Hammersley, a materials engineer in the avionics department. We're very excited. I'm sure you can hear it. To my right, we have a live view of Falcon Heavy on the pad at Kennedy Space Center. Falcon Heavy is essentially 3 Falcon 9 rockets all strapped together, which means it can carry much larger payloads not only to Earth orbit, but to the Moon and Mars as well. So like Falcon 9, Falcon Heavy is a two-stage launch vehicle. The big difference is that the first stage in Falcon Heavy is comprised of 3 cores, while Falcon 9 has only 1. Now, each one of these 3 cores has 9 M1D engines, making for a total of 27 engines overall. Altogether, those engines produce 5 million pounds of thrust, which is equal to 18 747s at takeoff. In fact, the engines are producing so much power that we don't run them at full thrust all at once. So during ascent, Falcon Heavy will throttle its thrust up and down in both the side and the center cores in order to balance the aerodynamic and structural loads on the vehicle. So about halfway through the first stage's burn, the 2 side boosters will separate and come back to Earth for a simultaneous landing at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. More about that a bit later.
You know how that
At that point, the mission proceeds very much like a standard Falcon 9 flight. The center core will keep on firing for another minute to burn all of its fuel, and it will perform a standard stage separation from the second stage on top. This second stage, with the fairing right at the very top there, the second stage is exactly the same as any other Falcon 9 flight, except we've loaded a bit more helium onto it this time. Now, that second stage will be sending our payload way out into a Mars-crossing orbit, which we'll also get into a bit later. But all in all, with a successful launch, Falcon Heavy is going to be the largest and most powerful operational rocket in the world. We're very excited to be launching it today. Let's check in on exactly how it's doing.
Good afternoon. I'm John Innsbrucker, the Falcon Principal Integration Engineer at SpaceX. We're currently at T-minus 17 minutes, 40 seconds and counting down. The good news that all systems are go for launch. We're working no problems with the SpaceX test flight of the Falcon Heavy launch vehicle. Now we're currently loading propellant on all 3 first stage boosters, and we began loading a couple minutes ago on the second stage LOX tank. Now this is the same method that we use on the single core Falcon 9. It just scaled to handle 3 first stage boosters. Now we're loading liquid oxygen and kerosene. We do that because in order to support combustion, you need oxygen. And in the vacuum of outer space, there isn't any. So we bring our own liquid oxygen, chilled and densified. You may have heard densified in the past. That allows us to pack the maximum amount into the LOX tanks on the Falcon Heavy. Now our fuel is refined petroleum, RP1. That's essentially just a purified kerosene. It's a safe propellant, easily available, has a lot of history. For example, the Saturn V first stage, flown from the very pad you see on the monitor, on the moon missions, used kerosene and liquid oxygen. Now the big news this afternoon has been the weather, and we've eaten up most of our launch window. Now we won't have the ability to hold the countdown any further now that we are into liquid oxygen loading. The good news is that the winds are looking good. We're working no issues on the Falcon Heavy. However, if there is an issue in the last minutes, we won't be able to launch today. There is a backup date available tomorrow. Now I've said it before, launch is hard, and Falcon Heavy is no exception. We're essentially counting down 3 rockets simultaneously. So the SpaceX team is going to be conservative in case anything pops up in the last minutes. But as the energy and the enthusiasm from the team gathering below me outside of Mission Control Center X is growing, we are go at T-minus 15 minutes and 40 seconds and counting.
My name is Brian, and I'm part of the software team here. And I'm standing just outside Mission Control as the crowd gathers behind me. We're all anxiously awaiting this very first test flight of Falcon Heavy. Now today, SpaceX has over 6,000 employees in locations across the country, but it wasn't always like that. Now when SpaceX was first founded in 2002, it was just a small group of engineers who believed that they could reduce the cost of exploring space, but had never actually built a rocket themselves. Now Falcon 1 was the first rocket we developed, and it was pretty small relative to Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy. While the Falcon Heavy on the right of your screen is over 230 feet tall, Falcon 1 stood only about 70 feet tall and could only carry about ½ a ton to orbit. However, despite its small size, Falcon 1 served a very large purpose. It was our roadmap to using modern technologies to engineer a vehicle that was not just more reliable, but was less expensive than alternatives. Now, we had 3 test flights of the Falcon 1 before we found success. But on that 4th Falcon 1 flight, it became the first privately developed liquid-fueled rocket to reach Earth orbit. Now, fast forward to today, and SpaceX has had 49 successful rocket launches. We have recovered 21 first stages, and we have reflown 6 of those. We have had 14 Dragon launches and have successfully reused the spacecraft as well. Now, our next step on this journey is just minutes from now when we'll attempt the first test flight of our heavy lift launch vehicle. Now, there have been many challenges along this long road, and it has not been easy. But no matter what happens today, it has all been worth it. Now, one of the many challenges we're hoping to overcome with this test flight is the recovery of all 3 cores of the Falcon Heavy first stage. Although we have demonstrated success with the recovery of a single core, 3 is on a whole nother level. So let's check in with Michael to get an overview of what that story may look like.
This is still just the wackiest
At
thing
SpaceX, our primary goal is to enable people to live on other planets, most notably Mars. But it's hard to do this without dramatically lowering the cost of access to space. And the best way to accomplish that is to reuse as much of the rocket as possible. So we've been successful at landing and reusing Falcon 9 rockets for over 2 years now. And Falcon Heavy aims to continue this trend of reusability. So today, we'll be attempting to recover all 3 of the first stage cores by using both of our landing methods, by land and by sea. So the side boosters have actually been used before on missions TICOM 8 and CRS 9. And at the time of booster separation, during ascent, the side cores will still be going slowly enough to turn around. So it makes sense to return them to Cape. They'll be executing a 3-burn maneuver to get them back to landing zones 1 and 2 and Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. You may have heard of landing zone 1. Landing zone 2 is an identical landing pad right next to it for Falcon Heavy landings. The center core will be going too fast to efficiently return it to Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. So we're going to use the autonomous spaceport drone ship to catch it about 300 miles off the Florida coast. It will also be executing 3 burns to get there. So if all goes well after launch, we'll have 3 first stage cores back on Earth, 2 for the second time, and a wealth of data for perfecting airplane-like operation in the future. So countdown is still proceeding nominally. So let's check in again on how Falcon Heavy is doing.
We just passed T-minus 12 minutes in the countdown of the test flight of Falcon Heavy. Fuel is completely loaded on the second stage. The first stage is also loaded with fuel, except for a small top-off that'll happen between T-minus 7 minutes and T-minus 6 minutes. Our major activity now is loading liquid oxygen on the boosters and the second stage. Liquid oxygen propellant loading on the first stages will end between T-minus 4 minutes and T-minus 3 minutes. Liquid oxygen loading on the second stage is the last one to finish, ending by T-minus 2 minutes. Now, in addition to loading propellant, the team is preparing to perform their final checks of the Merlin engines. We'll begin chill-in of the Merlin engine turbopumps with liquid oxygen as typical at T-minus 7 minutes like we do on Falcon 9 flights. We'll also be verifying valves and using the thrust vector control actuators to move the engines to verify the actuators are working correctly. As we get to T-minus 4 minutes, the clamp on the top of the strung back will open. You can see it just behind the Falcon Heavy. That entire structure will move about 1.5 degrees away from the rocket. At liftoff, it will move the rest of the way to clear Falcon Heavy, just like Falcon 9 flights. At the T-minus 1 minute mark, the flight computers will go into startup mode. They'll be controlling the countdown on the Falcon Heavy. What's different in this flight, engine ignition will begin at T-minus 5 seconds on the 2 side boosters, followed 2 seconds later by the center core. Now we're continuing to watch the weather, making sure that the ground liftoff winds don't exceed the maximum, but they're looking good right now. We continue monitoring the upper altitude winds as reported by the balloons. But right now, at T-minus 10 minutes and 10 seconds and counting, the Falcon Heavy test flight is go.
Because the first flight of Falcon Heavy is a test mission, we do not have a customer spacecraft on board today. Instead, we put something a little special to SpaceX inside the fairing. Now, more often than not, on the first flight of a new rocket, engineers will choose to fly a mass simulator, which is basically a heavy object of some sort to simulate the dynamics of flying a payload, but with little consequence if the mission doesn't work out exactly as planned. And as many of you already know, we have opted to have a little fun with our mass simulator. Stacked inside the fairing is Elon's cherry red Tesla Roadster, and inside of it, a passenger. His name is Starman, but don't worry, he's not human. But he is donning the SpaceX-designed spacesuit that our human astronauts will be wearing on Crew Dragon. And if all goes well today, we hope to get some live views of it as it makes its way into space. Now, in addition to the Roadster, you might also catch a glimpse of a smaller passenger, which is a tiny little Hot Wheel Roadster carrying a tiny little Starman, which is a little Easter egg for today's mission, so keep your eyes peeled for that. But those are not the only payloads we're flying today. Secured inside the Roadster is another really special passenger called an ARC. An ARC is a 5D laser optical quartz storage device, which is essentially a high-tech, high-data storage unit that can survive in the harsh environment of space. It's built by the ARC Mission Foundation, which is an organization whose purpose is to store libraries of human knowledge and data on these devices and send them off into space with interplanetary travelers, thus preserving human achievements well beyond Earth. On the ARC that's being launched today, the Foundation has stored Isaac Asimov's classic sci-fi series, The Foundation Trilogy, which was the original inspiration for the ARC mission. And given that making humanity a multiplanetary species is the core purpose of SpaceX, launching an ARC on this mission just seemed fitting. And last but certainly not least, a little something special for our hardworking SpaceX team. Mounted on the payload attach fitting, which is the structure that holds the Roadster onto the second stage, there's a plaque on which the names of over 6,000 of our SpaceX employees are engraved. The work that goes into designing, building, testing, and launching a vehicle of this sort is no small feat. And we are super excited to be a part of the Roadster's billion-year journey through the solar system.
As Lauren just mentioned, if all goes well today, Falcon Heavy will put the Roadster on board into an Earth-Mars orbit around the sun on a journey that could last for 1 billion years. Now, on a universal scale, this means that the Roadster will be tracing the shape of an ellipse with the sun at one of its fixed points, or one of its foci. Now, we call this heliocentric because it is sun-centered. The outermost distance on that same ellipse will intersect the path that Mars takes while it is on its own journey around the sun. That's quite far away. That will reach a maximum distance from Earth of over 400 million kilometers. In Earth terms, that's about the same as a trip around the equator 10,000 times. Now, during its journey, the Roadster will also reach a maximum velocity of nearly 40,000 kilometers per hour, or about 20 times faster than a speeding bullet. Now, as we said, it should stay up in orbit around the sun for about 1 billion years, and it's a very long, exciting road ahead, and we are thrilled to be able to take the first steps on that journey just 5 minutes from now.
So it looks like people are still confused by the title and the thumbnail. Remember, this is a 1-year anniversary. We're rewatching it, reliving it. It's been exactly 1 year, so we're treating it like this is a launch. This is not live. The next Falcon Heavy launch will be coming up soon, but I just wanted to remind you guys that we're just having a watch party to celebrate together, hang out, enjoy it, relive it. Yeah, I mean, what better thing could you do on the 1-year anniversary? So, yeah, so keep that in mind, because I still see it coming up all the time. Is this live? I mean, I'm live. We're rewatching last year's Falcon Heavy launch. Oh, and we'll be talking, stick around, because afterwards we're going to do a rundown on like what has happened since then. We'll do a little rundown on like where Starman is. We'll do a rundown on what happened to the center core, all of those things. So there's a lot to come, a lot of behind the scenes too. We'll be sharing pictures and things from behind the scenes as well. So stick around. Let's just act like get in that imaginary space if we're watching it live and try to relive those emotions, because it still gives me goosebumps and sometimes a little bit of a tear.
Push them away. The side boosters will disconnect first at the top of the center core, then milliseconds later from the bottom, so they'll actually rotate away from the center core slightly. Once the side boosters are clear, the center core will throttle up to full power and burn for another 25 seconds. Finally, at just past 3 minutes after liftoff, the center core will shut down, an event called MECO, main engine cutoff, and the second stage will separate. From this point on, it's like a Falcon 9 mission. The fairing will separate, the MVAC-D upper stage engine fires, eventually sending the stage and payload out into the solar system to orbit around the sun. So that gives you a feel for the sequence of events we're planning on today's flight. So now, at T-minus 4 minutes, 45 seconds and counting, let's witness the test flight of Falcon Heavy.
God, I remember my emotions at the time were just all over the place. I had set up 3 camera, I had set up altogether, it was like 5 or 6 pad cameras. I had 5 or 6 live cameras as I was doing a live stream too, and it was just emotionally draining.
And deck and A1D fuel bleed has started.
I remember it kept getting pushed back into there's like a 4-hour window altogether, and they were right up against the end of the window. And just sitting here going,
There's lock slow, throttling to close up.
There's no way this is going to work. There's no way. So another friendly reminder here, guys. This will have 27 Merlins, my new EP, that is literally written to the events of Falcon Heavy. Playing underneath this. It's going to be kind of in the background so we can still hear all the call-outs and stuff. But check that out if you want here on YouTube.
NY lock slide complete.
It's literally written to every single sequence of events. The video is not edited. The song is written to the video. So hopefully adds just an extra layer of like what it was like to actually witness it.
PY lock slide, throttling to close up.
You know, a lot of that anticipation, those moments,
PY lock slide
the
complete.
euphoria after, booster separation, just a lot of those emotions I try to, represent in the music. So I hope you enjoy it. I had a lot of fun. It was a really hard challenge to try and write music to a video in 2 specific timings. But if you like it, give it a listen. Yeah, let me know what you think. And also, people keep asking me. Yes, guys. Yes, Falcon Heavy. These just came out today. I'll talk about that at the end of the stream.
Logo bleed verification.
We now officially have Falcon Heavy shirts. That is a stupid, insane inside joke for me being from Iowa. Apparently, my Discord channel just loves everything to do with corn, so we had to make Falcon Heavy shirts. They're limited time, limited edition, in celebration of 1 year. So I'll talk about that in a little bit, but yeah. I like it. I like how people are being pedantic about the shape of it. Guys, it's corn. It's corn. You're being too literal. Yes, it does kind of look like Delta 4 Heavy, but if you get skinnier, it's not our fault that the Delta 4 Heavy looks more like corn than the Falcon Heavy. Falcon Heavy just needs to beef it up a little bit. But yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit. Gosh, who this was let me know if this was the first launch you'd ever watch live, or even like the first launch you'd paid attention to. Let me know. I'm curious because from what I hear from people, I hear so many people like, I watched this live and that changed my life, and now I'm like working in the aerospace industry. I know a lot of people in our Discord channel are literally like going back to school to become an aerospace engineer or something because of Falcon Heavy. I just think that's unbelievable. This still to this day is the most public spaceflight event that I've seen in my lifetime, by far. So I can't wait to see. There's a lot of exciting stuff in the future with the commercial crew program coming online. NASA's going to finally be launching people on top of rockets again from this pad and also from Slick 41 with Boeing and United Launch Alliance. It's going to be really exciting. This just really set it off. All right, we're at 1 minute out. Let's listen up.
M1D engine chill is complete.
AFTS is ready for launch.
I love hearing yes.
Ground gas closeouts are complete.
I love hearing the crowd.
Falcon Heavy is in startup. Stage 2 pressing for flight.
T-minus 30 seconds.
Launch director on countdown 1. SpaceX Falcon Heavy, go for launch.
Falcon Heavy is configured for flight.
T-minus 15, standby for terminal count. 10, 9, 8.
Side booster ignition.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. Falcon Heavy.
vehicle is supersonic. Side boosters are now throttling back up to full power. We're past max Q, the period of maximum loads on the vehicle. Next up, we'll be waiting for the side boosters to begin to throttle down prior to booster engine cutoff and separation 2.5 minutes into flight. GNC trajectory looks good on the Falcon Heavy.
Yes, this is the fixed corrected version, so it has kind of a weird thing.
Reports show that the M1D engine performance is nominal.
Contact engine says begun.
Side boosters have begun to throttle down in preparation for the upcoming shutdown in 20 seconds. Major event coming up with side booster shutdown and separation.
Inside shutdown. Side boosters. Beacon. Center. We're southing up. S1 keeps going. Still booster boost box setting.
Successful separation. We're coming up on MECO and shutdown.
Stay set. Preparation confirmed. Level recognition. Brisbane burn looks good on side boosters. Background started.
Coming up on fairing separation.
Second forward, second engines. Also good.
Coolest thing ever.
Wow. Wow. Did you guys see that? That was awesome. That's the only thing I can really
That was
say right now.
absolutely wild. Absolutely wild. I got nothing else.
Oh, man. Recapping all the great things that you just saw there. Successful liftoff from the pad, successful stage separation, but before that, successful booster separation. You can see stage one. The two side boosters, pardon me, you can see the center core, and you can see MVAC lit up. Oh my gosh.
Then the beautiful shots of Starman chilling in the Tesla Roadster. Just absolutely incredible. On your screen at the moment, you've got a few things happening. On the upper right, you've got MVAC-D continuing its burn. On the upper left, you have the center core headed back towards the autonomous spaceport drone ship. And in the two bottom screens, you've got the side boosters headed back towards Cape Canaveral Air Force Station, landing zones 1 and 2. The next step coming up for the side boosters and the center booster is the re-entry burn. That's going to slow it down from, or slow all the boosters down from way faster than the speed of sound to just faster than the speed of sound, in order to reduce some of those aerodynamic forces and heating that occurs when you're moving that quickly through the atmosphere.
I even timed the entry burns to synth hits too. Again, you can watch this anytime. I have a separate video called 27 Merlins. It's the EP of all this music with all this.
And as you can see on your screen, that re-entry burn for those two side boosters has begun.
Side boosters entry burn shut down.
Side core entry burn zone.
The center core in the upper left of your screen performing its own re-entry burn. You can see the edge of Cape Canaveral in both of the side booster cameras as those are coming in.
Some PY and NY side boosters have saved.
Center core entry burn shutdown.
And even though those look very similar, those two boosters' views, those are actually representing different boosters. And they're headed towards Earth. They're about to begin their landing burns. We'll hopefully be able to bring you nice footage of that.
Both side boosters transonic.
And watch for the landing lights deploy at the tail end of that landing burn.
And that landing burn has started.
Boosters landing lights have started. Side boosters landing lights have deployed.
Sometimes this footage goes out when it approaches the drone ship and the heavy vibrations make it lose signal. Crossing our fingers, that's not the case right now.
Stage 2, nominal parking orbit insertion.
So it looks like that landing is happening at the moment. We have lost signal. We're hoping that signal comes back shortly.
Oh man, yeah. As Michael mentioned earlier, with the vibrations of the rocket and how it shakes up the cameras that are on the drone ship, sometimes we do lose signal or shakes up the antennas.
Oh, and we've just gotten confirmation.
We're waiting to hear what happens, and so we're listening in, and we're still waiting to hear. We'll let you know as soon as we find out. You'll know. People are cheering, but we'll get the call and know. Hopefully very, very soon how that center core is doing, whether it's standing up proud on that drone ship or not.
Meanwhile,
other two landings.
Those were absolutely gorgeous. Meanwhile, the second stage is continuing its trajectory towards Mars. It's all looking good there. John, come give us a recap of the full mission.
He stands.
Well, if you could hear all that cheering. It was an outstanding test flight of the Falcon Heavy. Cameras cycling right now, live views coming down from low Earth orbit. The second stage successfully got there, and it got there as the culmination of a great Falcon Heavy test flight. We lit 27 engines, throttled the boosters up and down. We separated the side boosters. They came back spectacular, simultaneous landing. The center core did its job. The second stage did it. Everything that you could want in a test flight, we got here. Now we're just looking for the icing on the cake to find out what happened on the drone show. But all in all, an outstanding test flight for Falcon Heavy.
Wow, what an absolutely momentous occasion. Thank you so much to the range for contributing their expertise to today's launch, the FAA for the licenses to launch and land those boosters, as well as the rest of Falcon Heavy. And thank you to you, the viewers, for joining us for a really, really cool moment here.
And to find out what happened with the center core and what's going on with Starman as he makes its journey through space and all of our other launches, you can visit us at spacex.com and follow us on social media on LinkedIn and Twitter.
If you would like to join us on exciting projects like these, please visit spacex.com/careers. From the entire grateful team here, thank you again.
I think we're just gonna go ahead and we need to talk about some funny things here, because again, if you're tuning in right now, this is a replay. This is the 1-year anniversary. You know, we all watch like reruns of our favorite shows and stuff, so why can't we watch reruns of our favorite launches? That's my theory. So that's exactly what we're doing today. But it's funny because now we can talk about all the things that, like, in retrospect are pretty funny and pretty obvious. Like look at the reactions when it as they learn about the center core. It's really funny. You can clearly tell. Watch Lauren Lyons' face. You can clearly tell she's like, you know, well, we don't really know for sure. And then all of a sudden, because the center core did not land, if you didn't know, spoiler alert, but you can tell in her face pretty clearly that, okay. But they clearly got it in there. I think, so SpaceX actually edited the live stream video after it went live. They fixed a few things. They had a patch problem. Since they had so many new cameras, they accidentally fed the same camera feed twice into those grid fins here, so they actually fixed it afterwards. This shot, because originally they showed the two exact same boosters. They repeated this left one over here on both. They ended up fixing that later. They also fixed a time where the map showed up right about 1:55. You'll see the time stops. They accidentally showed just a live stream of the map, so they corrected a few things. And they also took out, I think there's a part where they go, we lost the center core, and they just kind of got rid of it, which I think is funny. So that's gonna do it for the rewatch here. But I figure we might as well talk about things like where is Roadster, because I kind of started getting into it, but then I was getting a little bit late. But if you want to know where exactly the Roadster is, there is whereisroadster.com, and it shows you exactly where. I think this is hilarious. Basically, it's gotten, at this point, since it used 126,000 gallons of fuel, which in real life, the Tesla Roadster would not use, or normally would not use any fuel because it is an electric vehicle. But obviously, launching on top of the Falcon Heavy, it used 126,000 gallons of fuel, giving it 3,756 miles per gallon so far, since it's just kind of coasting now, which is just hilarious. That's basically 1,600 kilometers per liter. Assuming the battery still works. Starman has listened to Space Oddity almost 100,000 times, and Life on Mars 133,000 times. That is so funny. You would need a telescope 53,000 foot, 16,000 meters in diameter to resolve the upper stage from Earth. That is one of my favorite calculations. So it's so far away. This thing's so tiny. You would just need an unbelievably big telescope to even remotely see the glimmer of light coming off of it. So yeah, I see a lot of people asking a few things. I probably need to answer some of your guys' questions. Yes. So you can rewatch. I mixed this version to have the live stream audio over, so we can still hear the call outs. So we could also, so it kind of had music and call outs. If you want just the music, click on, look around on my channel here. I just posted it today. An EP with the music. And again, the music was written to the mission. 100% timed out so that I did not cut the video at all from the official current SpaceX live stream, like as they posted it. I took that, I wrote the songs to the events. All the hits on the downbeat of all those things were all intentional. There is no editing of the video. If you want to watch that anytime, check it out here on YouTube. It's called 27 Merlins. I will put that up on Spotify and iTunes and all that stuff. In April, I'm going to be releasing it there. But for now, watch it, because I want people to get used to watching it with the video if you want to hear those songs. So you can check that out anytime. This was a little bit different version again, but if you just want the music lined up to the audio, or lined up to the video, check that out here. But again, we definitely need to talk about this, because you guys made me do this. You guys literally made me make these. So we do have Falcon Heavy shirts. These are limited edition pre-orders. They will end February 20th, and for the next 24 hours, if you buy a Falcon Heavy shirt, you get half off of any Falcon Heavy prints. If you use 27 Merlins, all capital, one word, 27 Merlins, 27 Merlins, all capital. You can get your Falcon Heavy shirt and half off any Falcon Heavy poster in the shopping cart. So check that out if you want. You guys made me do this, so this is for you. And yes, again, we made it look like corn first, and then Falcon Heavy second. So yes, it happens to look almost exactly like the Delta IV Heavy, but it is the Falcon Heavy. It's its own thing. It's its own thing, guys. Use your imagination. Yeah. Nothing on the back, just fabric. So all right, we also have to talk about. I've got some behind the scenes stuff for you guys. Boom. So I'll show you guys my pictures from the day. This is the day before when we were doing remote camera setup. My parents also made it out. They were down in Florida. This was their first ever launch that they made it out to. If you can't tell, I do look basically like the exact mix of both of my parents. Yeah. I'm exactly them. They made it to their first launch. This was for my Instagram story, Falcon Heavy, drooling. Yeah. My first stream in Discord was when Falcon Heavy. Mel Ray X in our Discord was here in the Discord for our first Falcon Heavy when that became a thing. I don't even remember really. I don't really know exactly how that became a thing, but yeah. Falcon Heavy. You guys made me do it. You made me do it. Let's keep going here. Gosh. This is setting up a remote pad camera. I'll show you a video of that in a second. Let's see. Oh, it looks like I just realized this is someone's shirt. I feel like this was Craig or someone's shirt, and then a camera on top of it, and it looks funny. It looks like they've got a bag. The shirt's wearing the camera bag. By the way, yes, we basically, most of us launch photographers will just use literally like a garbage bag because you're not so worried about like the blast of the rocket. You're mostly just worrying about like if it rains and not getting condensation inside the camera bodies. The blast, if something goes wrong, nothing's gonna save it. Like people put like mailboxes and all these things. This is just, I'm a fan of just like stick a garbage bag on it, put a little hole in it for the lens, call it a day. Let's see, let's keep going here. I had a meetup. This is my first ever actual meetup. This was a Patreon meetup that we did the night before. Yeah, this was the night before Falcon Heavy. We all met up. It was awesome. It was so cool, guys. Meetups are awesome. Like, I can't tell you how much this meant to me. This was that moment where I'm like, people like really like space stuff, and it was just, I don't know, it just felt really good to get together with other people. People came from all over the United States, all over the world, Canada, all over the place, to come see Falcon Heavy. Getting together and meeting up was just awesome. So, Trevor confirms that was Craig. That's hilarious. Yeah, so this was the first meetup. Next time you guys if you're going to like DM1, DM2, I'll be down in Florida quite a bit this year. Come to a meetup. I typically do Patreon exclusive meetups, but we'll see. Maybe we'll do a public one too. I'm definitely doing, by the way, guys, I'm going to Yuri's Night for sure in both Florida and LA this year. If you don't know what Yuri's Night is, it's like a big celebration. I think they're on the 5th and the 12th of April to celebrate the anniversary of Yuri Gagarin's inaugural space flight, of course, the first human in space. There's big parties at both Kennedy Space Center and LA. They're actually all over the world, so you can find a Yuri's Night near you if you just search Yuri's Night. But yeah, for me, I will definitely be going to the to both of them, LA and Orlando, and Kennedy Space Center. So I hope that you guys can show up there. They're a ton of fun. Oh, also this was at the after party, the SpaceX after party. Abby Garrett in there, and Ollie Braun, who makes the models that you see in the background. My friend Keith, my friend Bryce, Mike. Good people. So those are kind of behind the scenes pictures. I wanted to show you guys. This is what it's like to drive up to the actual vehicle assembly building. It's a long stretch. The weirdest thing about when you're driving up through Kennedy Space Center and you see the VAB, normally when you see a building off in the distance, especially like a square building, like it comes up on you pretty quick, right? Because it's small. This thing is like 35 stories tall. It's like 360 feet tall, so like over 100 meters tall. And there's something weird, like it's like this weird parallax effect where you're just staring at it and it doesn't get any bigger. It just like stays there on the horizon forever because it's so big. Like your brain isn't used to seeing a building that big. Like you're driving at it, like it looks like a garage just like down the street. And you're like, why isn't it getting any closer? Why isn't it getting any closer? And it just stays off in the distance. Absolutely absurd. I think that's just, I don't know why that's, I still kind of like get chills every time I drive in there. You just go, this is unreal. And so much history has come out of that building. Of course, the Saturn V's were vertically, this was built for the Saturn V's to vertically integrate the Saturn V. Of course, the space shuttle was also integrated in there for when it actually was stacked. 525 foot tall, says Trevor Mullen. You're right, 360 feet is as tall as the Saturn V. Yeah, the building is 50 stories tall, 525 foot tall, so that's like 140 meters tall, basically. So, yeah, it's just nuts. It's just nuts. This is setting up a remote pad camera, and these are sound triggers that work with the cameras. So what you do is you set up a camera. There's a guy from Reddit. That's not my Pikachu. For some reason, that made it into like everything. He just kept taking pictures, which is hilarious. No matter what, like Pikachu was showing up all over the place. He was just stuffing it in like every bag and every crevice, getting Pikachu pictures everywhere. I still don't quite get it, but it was entertaining nonetheless. But so what you do is you basically frame up your shot. You get your exposure right. You get your everything set up. And then you have this little trigger on there, and that trigger is triggered by sound. So what you do is you make it so it's only triggered by like crazy, crazy, crazy loud sounds. You know, not like you know, if a bird flies by or like if a bus or a car drives by. You set it up so only something crazy loud like a rocket launch will trigger it. And then once it triggers it, it turns the camera back on. It's just in a sleep mode, and it just starts firing, going bang, 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 taking it off, which is really, really cool. A nice, reliable way. So you set up your focus, you lock your focus down, you lock your exposure down, and then you set it up on a tripod and you hope for the best. This camera did not work. All three of my cameras outside of the fence here, outside of the perimeter, didn't do too well. And it was entirely my fault. I'll admit it. Fine. But yeah, these are some of the other photographers. It's kind of fun. This is... Sorry for the audio. The audio is not very good, but I still think this is kind of fun. Here. So, behind me, you might notice there's a certain rocket, and it's called the Falcon Heavy. And it's basically 3 Falcon 9s stuck together, which means it has 27 Merlin engines, delivering 5.1 million pounds of thrust. That's twice as much thrust as the next closest competitor, the Delta IV Heavy. It's 9 times the engines as the Delta IV Heavy. And it's going to be absolutely incredible. The coolest thing about this vehicle, of course, is they're going to be trying to land they're going to try to be landing all 3 of those massive boosters, 2 here at land and 1 at sea. So the 2 will be landing here at LZ1 and LZ2, which is landing zone 1 and 2. And then the center core will be traveling very far downrange and landing on the drone ship some large distance away from where we are here. So it's going to be amazing. I can't wait. Good times. Oh yeah, now some outtakes. And then I realized, guys, I've got to answer all your super chats too. Let me finish this and then we'll talk about that. Thank you guys. Thank you. But these are outtakes from this back when I
Falcon Heavy. This.
Too far.
Falcon Heavy. Hi. It's me, Tim Dodd, the everyday astronaut. This? This? This?
So stupid.
Hi, it's me, Tim Dodd, the everyday astronaut. This is Falcon Heavy. Let's get started.
A lot of people do ask about the spacesuit. To be honest, the spacesuit, I got worn out with the spacesuit. I did this show for Facebook Watch, where Facebook Watch is like original programming, like kind of like Netflix, YouTube Red, Facebook did their own stuff called Facebook Watch. I sold 5 episodes of a show called Spacing Out to them, and I had to wear the spacesuit like every day for 2 weeks for like 8 hours a day. After that point, I really almost, like, that wore me out. I was like, I'm done with this thing. I got tired of it. I took the character to the extreme, like way too goofy all the time. Very kid-friendly, which I think is a good thing. But that just totally like wore that down. So I am working, someday I will get a new spacesuit that'll be androgynous, like internationally androgynous, so it like represents all countries and cultures and not just like an old Russian altitude flight suit and or not some like America spacesuit. Like I want it to be like, you know, Earth spacesuit. So yeah, so that's that. I need to thank a lot of people here. K-Moto, 1 year ago you caught the rocket bug. See, isn't that crazy? Like this particular event is literally what caught the bug for some people. So cool. Anscar, thank you very much. Lawrence, you see companies making their fairings bigger than SpaceX is possible with the lift capability of Falcon Heavy to just make their fairing the biggest. Falcon Heavy coming to the UK. Awesome. So no, honestly, they're at the limit of fairing size with Falcon Heavy, and it's mostly because the core is only 3.7 meters wide. It's not very wide. It's technically by definition it's the finest rocket, so that means like its width to length ratio. The Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy are the finest rockets. That means if you would put a bigger fairing on it could put additional aerodynamic stresses on the vehicle. The volume is a slightly limiting factor for Falcon Heavy compared to say like the especially New Glenn coming up will have this insanely big fairing. They'll have massive volume. So New Glenn will probably win some of those contracts, but at the same time, like they just have to factor in like what's worth it, like a cost analysis. Is it worth it for us to, you know, try to develop a whole new vehicle just for very few edge case like scenarios of a you know, launch like a satellite that needs this extra, you know, payload size. Sorry, I'm like stumbling on my words right now. But you got to think like they want to make it the right size for as many things as possible. Because of course there will always be a few things that are just freaking huge that might need to ride on another vehicle for now. And they're not going to continue to develop or expand the fairing on the Falcon Heavy because that's what the Starship Super Heavy is for. That's what BFR is for. Like that's why they're making a bigger vehicle, is because they reached the absolute upper limit of the Falcon 9, of the Falcon family, basically. That they have taken that to the absolute extreme. It's not worth them investing and putting any more time, effort, money, engineering into that vehicle because they're going 100% full steam ahead into Starship. So, yeah. Let's see. And William, you saw the rocket from the Rocket Garden. That was probably an awesome place to see it. And thank you, William. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Brian Gleason. I'm about to take a sip out of your Falcon Heavy champagne glass you got last year. This was awesome seeing it live. Your first in real life rocket launch. Well, that was a heck of a rocket launch to see for your first time. Now, unfortunately, almost most other launches will look a little more sad, to be honest. Like this was one of the most epic launches ever. So, Billy, thank you. Hey there, comrade. How are you? Thank you. Warriston says incredible. MB Buckle, even more goosebumps with your music under it. Thank you, MV Buckle. That means a lot. Thank you. And Cohen and Directrix, that simultaneous landing. Yeah, I know. Still gets me every time. Keep up your great work. Looking forward to more SpaceX videos. Says Frontistic. Thank you very much. There's way too many, guys. I'm working on another fun video. I'm doing a few shorter ones. There's going to be a lot of videos before DM1 coming out, so stay tuned. Vikrant, sorry, that's all I have. Well, thank you. You don't need to apologize. Thunder Runner, do you remember me from KS? Yes, Thunder Runner. I think we wrote a song about Thunder Runner. I totally remember you. You saw the second to last night shuttle launch. But I would consider my first launch to be the Falcon Heavy since it's the first one. You remember, skip school just to see it live. That's awesome. Thunder Runner. Yes, absolutely. And comrade, a 1033 euro tip to B1033. Guess it's not as simple as just reading the instructions. Yes, we'll talk about that in a second. Good reminder. Paul, lol, tips are for a rerun. Thank you. And Bjorner, Tim, that music was absolutely fantastic. This is a donation for that music. Also, where can I buy that music? Love your content. Well, thank you. Currently, it's not available anywhere online to purchase. You can just watch it on YouTube for free, though. I will eventually have it up on Spotify and iTunes and all that stuff, so pay attention. If you're not following me on Twitter, do that. I make a lot of I'm very active on Twitter. You can find, if you search Everyday Astronaut, or at Day Astronaut, because every day doesn't fit. So Day Astronaut, you'll find me on Twitter. I'll let you know when it's actually available. Best Buddy, they kept we lost the center core in the end there. If you listen close, you can hear it. Really? I don't think I realized you can actually hear it in there. And Harambe's Ghost, I remember Harambe's Ghost. Do you need special permission to shoot from that location? Press pass. Yes, Harambe's Ghost, this was, I've been an active member of Space Press, I guess, since 2014. So you needed press credentials in order to attend that launch from those vantage points. So, yeah. Let's see here. Let's talk about what happened to the center core. I'm going to actually just pull that up. We have this video. Give me a second here. Let's see. Falcon Heavy. We do have the Falcon Heavy and Starman. Shows us exactly what happened to the center core. Hopefully that note didn't just get freaking picked up. Gosh. Wouldn't surprise me. Okay, so let's see here. We can see the center core landing. I'm fast forwarding until I find it. Maybe. Oh, yeah. Okay, they released 2 videos here. They have a vertical video from the support ship actually showing the center core trying to land and not quite able to do it. And the reason was, quote unquote, ran out of TTEB, which I still think is honestly very, very, very strange. I wonder if something else kind of happened, like maybe a TTEB bottle exploded or something, because and the landing legs aren't deployed. I don't know, but the real thing, the crazy thing here is, yes, this is a different vehicle. Like, the center core is basically, a beefed up Falcon 9, but it's not like they don't know how much TTEB to put in a core for a 3-engine landing burn. They've done many 3-engine landing burns. Yeah, I still don't really know how it could run out of TTEB unless it was like a miscalculation or something. But yeah, unfortunately, the center core was lost, but luckily it didn't hit the drone ship. Had it directly hit the drone ship, that would have been very, very, very bad. But the center core did land quite a bit further downrange. It will land incredibly far downrange for Arabsat. We should probably talk about that now. So the next 2 launches, Falcon Heavy will be launching here. Again, they're currently quoting a month from now. That won't happen because it will need to happen after DM1. So DM1 is the Demonstration Mission 1. That is the uncrewed test launch of the Falcon 9 with the Dragon 2 capsule. So that's the capsule that's going to be taking humans up to the International Space Station for NASA. This is the test of that first brand new capsule, the Dragon 2 capsule. Big, big, big deal. That's hopefully happening in about a month, around a month-ish, give or take. At this point, I'm going to guess it's currently slated for March 2nd. I'm just guessing based on things that it's probably going to get pushed like March 5th or 6th or something. Oh, good question. And thank you, Warriston. TTEB, sorry. Triethyl aluminum, triethyl boring. It's a pyrophoric, basically hypergolic. I don't know if it's hypergolic or pyrophoric. I think it's pyrophoric, which means it still needs liquid oxygen. Maybe it's hypergolic. Anyway, it's 2 fluids that when they come in contact with each other, they instantly explode, right? So that means hypergolic. I'm sure I'll get the answers here in a second. And that's how you relight the engines, because the engines basically need to keep running in order to the pumps need to run, the combustion chamber. It's in order to get it all running, you have to start it with something. And this is basically like a starter fluid. It's hypergolic. Thank you. Yeah, so it's basically how you ignite the engines. These 2 things come in contact in the pre-burner, spin the pumps up, those pumps get spinning, they start sucking in the actual RP1 and liquid oxygen, and that's how it starts. So yeah, it's basically go juice. And that's one of the things that's just weird to me is it had the same amount of, it wasn't like it had more ignition events for Falcon Heavy Center Core. Maybe it does. See, I was almost thinking it was not hypergolic. I'm almost thinking it's pyrophoric. Yes, it is pyrophoric, so it does need oxygen. No, you're not stupid. Yeah. So, no, first name, last name, it's currently scheduled. DM1 is, the demonstration mission 1 is currently scheduled for March 2nd at this point. I believe March 2nd or March 3rd. So I'm trying to keep a close eye on that. I'll be down at that launch, of course. There we go. Yeah, I believe it is. Yeah. But yeah, so that's why the center core is unusual. But we're not going to see the next Falcon Heavy launch until DM1 happens. And because they share the same launch pad, they're both going to be launching out of 39A. They both are tucked inside that building, the HIF, the High Integration Facility, or the Horizontal Integration Facility, sorry. That building that you can see in like every shot, but none of the ones shown here, of course. But yeah, so right now they can't really fit Falcon Heavy and DM1, so that booster for DM1, and the actual, like, what is that called? Why am I blanking so much today? The transporter vector, this guy. They all can't really fit in there very friendly. They can fit a Falcon Heavy and another vehicle, but that's when the Falcon Heavy is lined up with the actual track to do that. Since the track's kind of down the middle, it's a lot of people are just trying to figure out how exactly they're going to handle that, but it's because they can't get the Falcon Heavy totally ready and integrated until DM1 is taken off. Then it sounds like they need at least 2 weeks to turn around, fill in all these holes, because they actually have to fill in or take out these holes for Falcon Heavy on the bottom of the transporter vector. Yeah, pretty cool. So they'll do that. About a 2 week turnaround. I'm guessing that means more like a month turnaround, so that means we're looking at probably early April. I'm guessing late March, early April for the next Falcon Heavy for Arabsat. But then the craziest thing is the STP-2. So that's a space. What's that actually stand for? Space Transportation State Prototype? I don't remember. Space Test Program. There we go. Space Test Program 2 is planned using all 3 cores again. They're planning to just reuse the entire vehicle, which is insane. And they're hoping to do that again about a month away from Arabsat. So as long as everything goes well, they're literally betting on recovering all 3 cores, having no damage, and reflying that within about a month. That will be absolutely bonkers. A heavy lift vehicle being flown twice within a month is just plain nutty. What do I think of Russia's Federation spacecraft, asks Henry. Well, if I remember right, the Federation spacecraft is literally, if I remember right, that's actually just the TKS spacecraft, or the VA spacecraft, which flew in like the 70s. They just are repurposing them, which is crazy. Ooh, did SpaceX just post this? This is gorgeous. Hang on, check this out, guys. Or is this an old... February 6th, that's today. Look at that. That is such a gorgeous photograph. And Falcon Heavy says, great panda already. Dang. Oh, that's so stinking pretty. 123. I did not see that. Gosh, that's gorgeous. Yeah. That thing. I cannot wait to see this thing fly. That picture, though. Great work. I assume I know who it is. I want to know what this angled thing is. I know a lot of people were freaking out thinking it looked like there's something falling off, but I think it's some kind of claw or something to hold on to things. I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's hanging off there doing something important, I'm sure. Who knows? Oh, that's so cool. So yeah, I hope some people are able to at least go see DM1. It's going to be amazing. Look at that. That is going to be so freaking awesome. I cannot wait to see this thing fly. And of course, remember, this is genius because notice that on this side are solar panels. On this side are the radiators, which is very different from the original Dragon 1 had deployable solar panels. This seems to be simpler. It seems really cool, seems really pretty. And it's just cool. They have radiators on one side and solar panels on the other. Which just makes sense because only one side can face the sun anyway, right? It's not like you can get sun on both sides of your spacecraft. So I love it. I love it. Super, super, super excited. So, what else did we have to talk about? Tyler, hey Tim, other than the price, would titanium skin on Starship be better? No, actually. Titanium gets very brittle at cryogenic temperatures. It loses strength at cryogenic temperatures. So on paper, again, it's one of those things that might look a little bit better than stainless steel, but in practice, it would not be better. Yeah, and it is, of course, way more expensive. And cost and fat, that isn't everything. Price isn't everything. But using a material that's super well known, like stainless steel 301, it makes so much sense for Starship. After I really dove into it and started just thinking about all the situations and the wide variety of things where Starship will be flying, the parameters. Hold on, I need to sneeze so bad. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, guys. Yeah, basically, it totally makes sense because it has to handle re-entry, has to handle cryogenic temperatures, has to be light. I mean, it totally makes sense to use stainless steel now. And I'm almost surprised. Well, you know what I think the big thing is? I think that cold forming 301, when cold forming at cryo had not been doable, and cold forming is where you like literally form and bend the metal and shape it at either room temperature is the original like cold forming, but you can also take it beyond that and go like minus 100 degrees Celsius, 150 degrees Celsius, cold form it under cryogenic temperatures. And that's apparently now easy to do, something that was not valid before. As in like literally in the past year, it's become a valid option and makes it incredibly strong, even stronger yet than normal stainless steel, I believe. So I think between that breakthrough in manufacturing and just the material now is just it just makes it so obvious that like, of course you're going to use stainless steel. Of course. And I have that video doing a pretty deep rundown on that stuff, but now in retrospect, hindsight 2020, it looks like a really, 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 really good choice. So, yeah. What will happen to STP-2 if they fail to land the booster center core? Asks Tina Zill. I believe it'd get delayed, just like CRS-16, that booster. Was that 1050 or 1051? Was supposed to fly again with a Canadian payload. Unfortunately, that got actually pushed back until they get a new booster ready. So they'd have to manufacture another booster. They are planning, I mean, this is part of their business case now. They are to the point where they're relying on reused, reflown, and recovering these rockets. Like if they don't do that now, it hurts them, like that's now part of their business model. And it's just absolutely crazy that they are now relying on that. That's how confident they are. I think CRS-16 must have been a nice little bit of a wake-up call. When the grid fins, that's when the grid fins failed back in December to a pump seizing failure. And apparently they're just, I don't know how hard this is. I assume it's harder than just like putting a Lego brick together or something. But they're just going to make a redundant backup pump of the grid fin hydraulic system. And I don't know how hard that is. Hopefully that's not anything that's crazy and requires a massive like redesign. I think compared to the rest of the vehicle, that's probably something fairly simple. So, yeah, so I hope that that's something that they have taken into account now to make these vehicles even more reliable, more recoverable. That's because it's like their business case now. It's just absolutely bonkers. So, when will Tesla Roadster be on sale? Asks Adam, Roblox, and more. I think 2020 is when they're aiming for the new Roadster. Don't forget the Roadster came out already. I mean, the one that's in space right now is like a 10-year-old. That was Tesla's first vehicle. Which I think came out in like 2010 or so. So it's almost 10 years old or around 10 years old. Yeah, so the new Roadster will be awesome. The like 2020 Roadster 2 or whatever. Yeah. It's sad that rockets don't get streamed at schools anymore. I think, Owen, some schools did pick up on Falcon Heavy. I think when we start flying humans again, and if you start getting crazy, big, exciting missions, like when we start sending humans back to Mars and stuff, or to the moon, and eventually onto Mars, I definitely think rockets and stuff like that is going to be will definitely be streamed live by a lot of people. Yeah, so friendly reminder, guys, again, this was just a replay of the Falcon Heavy, a 1-year little rewatch party, something fun just to like celebrate and nerd out together on. Yeah. Talk about the Rocky struts. I don't really know what the Rocky struts are. The rocket struts, maybe, I guess. I could have probably inferred that. The struts are hydraulic, so SpaceX is against pyrotechnics. They don't like anything that can't be tested beforehand, so that's why their fairings are spring. Their stage separators are hydraulic. Their payload adapter are springs, basically. They have a whole bunch of systems that are not pyrotechnic, so they can test them all the time. And Falcon Heavy is no exception. It used hydraulics and like different holds that let go and push, and it worked out phenomenal. It's super cool. Wow, thank you, Lukian Nest. When you have time, check out the email I sent you on January 15th titled Graphing SpaceX Telemetry, Interesting Charts of Speed and Altitude. I also made similar charts for the recent Blue Origin flight. Sounds good. I will check on that. Sorry, I have many. It gets very hard to keep up. But thank you. I will definitely check that out. I maybe did look at it now that I think about it. But yeah, I'm excited to dive into that. Hopefully we can. I wonder if you have Falcon Heavy, we can dive into it and use some of that data for the next Falcon Heavy flight. Also, Declan Murphy with FlightClub.io always does an awesome job too of graphing out all of the actual specs and the telemetry of the vehicle too. Crazy stuff. You guys are way too smart. So yeah, I think that's going to do it for me, guys. I am working on a new video. If you need more of me, don't forget once a week, because a lot of people ask me questions about current news topics. If you need news topics, make sure you're subscribed to Our Ludicrous Future podcast. We talk about is kind of everything revolving Elon Musk, or at least the industries he's involved in. So it's automotive, renewable energy, futurism in general, and of course rockets. But it is a little bit more centered around SpaceX, of course, Tesla, and Boring Company and things like that. It's with myself, Joe Scott from Answers with Joe, and Ben Solons from Teslanomics. Every week, you can find it either on YouTube here, if you just search Our Ludicrous Future, or whatever podcasting you listen to, or go to ourludicrousfuture.com. You can find easy links to everything. So, yeah, ourludicrousfuture.com. I hope you guys check that out. We've been having a lot of fun producing those. I like actually having the conversation with people about it. So, yeah, and also remember, limited time, guys. These shirts will be gone. Orders will close on February 20th. So if you want a Falcon Heavy shirt, do it right now, especially in the next 24 hours, using 27 Merlins. That's spelled out 27 Merlins, Merlins. At checkout, you can take 50% off of a Falcon Heavy print, which, yeah, you'll see here, like one of these. Ah, yes. Or one of these with the horizontal integration facility. Yeah. Check those out, guys. And thank you guys so much too for all the support in the shop. It's been awesome. I love seeing. I've been seeing people sending me pictures of merch and stuff. Let me see your. If you guys get one of these shirts, tag me on Twitter. I love seeing merchandise out in real life. I think it's absolutely hilarious. This is bonkers. We made a Falcon Heavy shirt, guys. Falcon Heavy. How absolutely absurd is that? But yeah, and also don't forget, if you guys want to join our exclusive Discord channel where I'm talking 24/7, basically I'm like with these people all the time. I feel like they're my family now. If you want to join our Discord channel, you can do that through Patreon, patreon.com/everydayastronaut. And of course, last but not least, guys, don't forget to check out my new album, the 27 Merlins. Rewatch it. Let me know what you think. It's right here. I'm really happy about it. Here, I'm going to show you. So you can find it right here on YouTube. Again, there is no, it's just the music. You can hear a little bit. I kind of sampled some of the launch live stream stuff, like in the background chatter and cheering and stuff. Here's some Easter eggs on this though. It's 27 bars to T-minus 0. So I intentionally timed that out to be 27 bars to T-minus 0 to lift off. Of course, the first note is a F major, because that's one effing major Falcon rocket. So I hit a lot of Easter eggs, of course. There's, I sampled the crowd and pitched that to be part of the music as well. But everything was timed out to the video. I'm really proud of it. So give it a listen, show a friend if they're into music or rockets or neither or both. Yeah, you'll find that here on the channel. Everyday Astronaut. I think you know where that is. I think by now you guys know. Yeah, so that's going to do it for me, guys. Thank you for tuning in to the 1-year anniversary of Falcon Heavy. hopefully in another month, we're going to see some equally exciting launches and another Falcon Heavy launch in about, I'm guessing about 2 months from now. I cannot wait for that. So thank you guys for tuning in, and thank you guys for more tomorrow. Yes, we always need more tomorrow. So yeah, thank you guys. That's going to do it for me. I'm Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut, bringing space down to Earth for everyday people. Bye, everybody.